What's up guys, I'm KBHD here. 755 product launches later, we've made it through Techtober, took a little breath, and now we're right back at it with November, and it just keeps going. And I've started my November with this. This is the iPhone XR. And this phone already has a bit of a reputation, but ideally with my testing and hopefully in this review, we can look past that little reputation and figure out what this phone really is. I mean, it's another iPhone, and I already reviewed the iPhone, the XS, so I'll leave that link to the review below. But this one is very similar in a lot of ways with the new parts and the new design, but with some key differences. So for this video, let's look at everything that's different about the iPhone XR that adds up to $250 cheaper and what I think of it. Okay, so first things first is the size. The iPhone XR sits right in between the XS and the XS Max with this 6.1 inch display. It's fine. I'm one of those people who wishes there was an even smaller iPhone so that the difference was more apparent, but this 6.1 inch display kind of splits the middle. It's definitely harder for most people to reach the corners and the tops of this display because it is so big. That's one of those things though that you can check out just by getting in a store and seeing for yourself. But the size for me is fine. And then the build. The iPhone XR is made from different materials and it's built differently than the XS, even with pretty much the same looking design. There's no stainless steel here. iPhone XR has anodized aluminum sides, which means they can color match them to get it to match the glass backs. And yes, there are the 6 new colors. And I know I've said before the red is my favorite, and yes, it still is, but I'm gonna go ahead and give my second place to this blue. I really like it. I think it's quite nice. The coral and the yellow don't really speak to me as much, I think mostly because of the rail colors being a little less saturated, and the black and the white are just black and white. So the red and the blue are definitely my 2 favorite XR colors. Also, small difference, the iPhone XR's water resistance is IP67, where the iPhone XS was IP68, so worth noting. And you'll also notice the slightly different locations for the antenna bands. The XR is missing a couple, just a pair of visible bands that are on the XS. And the XR, since it lacks these bands, does not have gigabit LTE. And this only affects a tiny number of people who are actually in an area where their carrier supports gigabit LTE, but hey, it's different, so there you have it. Overall, I'm mostly a fan of the build of the XR. I think the colors are awesome. They didn't have to do colors, so I'm glad they did. The backs with the glass are super saturated and bright and vibrant, but the aluminum on all the colors on the rails is always less saturated than the glass, which makes sense, but it's kind of a bummer if you put a case or a skin on it, because then you hide the awesome color of the glass and you just get the metal. It's not the end of the world, but just had to point that out. Also, with the aluminum, it's even more slippery than the stainless steel. This is, I think, the new slipperiest phone in the world, champ, prone to sliding out of your pockets if you're not careful, so be careful. Okay, so the display. This is the biggest difference versus the iPhone XS. This is why Apple